Lateral Room, County Hall. First of all, can I check with Democratic Services that everything is all good to go?
Yeah,
excellent, thank you. And can I check that everybody can hear us online?
We can.
Loud and clear.
Thank you very much. Welcome to this meeting. It's only executive subcommittee members present in the room that can take decisions at this meeting. Others in attendance are here to provide advice. There are no planned fire drills today. In the event of a fire alarm, please follow the fire exit signs and congregate in the car park. If anyone present needs assistance in exiting the building, then please let a member of the Democratic Services team know. The agenda and papers have been published on the council website in advance of the meeting, and the council recognises the importance of striking the balance between providing opportunities for the lawful expression of views and any unacceptable behaviours or actions that cause disruption can lead to our meetings being adjourned. The council will be making a recording of the meeting, and this will be published in due course. So today's meeting will be run using a hybrid format, and key executive members and officers are physically present in the lateral room. Other elected members or officers may be physically or remotely present to contribute as well. The meeting is being broadcast, and therefore other members of the public and partners can observe the meeting remotely. In terms of the chat function, please can you use it only for the purpose of the meeting, primarily to indicate that you wish to speak. Please only speak at my invitation, say your name before speaking, and otherwise keep your microphone and your camera turned off, please, because that helps us with the bandwidth. Thank you very much. So apologies for absence. I see Councillor Rigby is online, so would be an apology for non-presence.
Indeed.
And Councillor Graham Oakes, I see, is also online, and similarly is a apology due to.
Thank you.
But is still here to contribute. Okay. Any other lead members apologising? No. So we're moving on to declarations of interest. Other than the city, town and parish councils on the website, has anybody got any declarations of interest? Not seeing any, so we move to public question time.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I can confirm we had no public questions received at all.
There's no public questions. I can see in front of me, I have a beautiful set of minutes of the last meeting, but it's not on the agenda.
Yeah, there's the delay in getting them out, so they have to be uploaded separately.
Okay, so are we okay to approve minutes at this point?
If you want to take them to the next meeting, we can hold them off to the next meeting if that's what the membership wants.
I'm just looking. I will hold off autographing them until the next meeting. I wasn't even at the last meeting, so I'm not in a position to check them. So thank you very much. So we move on to the Gravity Enterprise Zone Delivery Progress Report, and Councillor Mike Rigby to introduce the report and then hand on to key officers.
Thank you very much, Chair. So we've got a good comprehensive report in front of us, the meat of today's meeting. We're being asked to note the progress and to consider the update to the latest risks. The report sets out developments with regard to changes to Building 1, for example, that we've heard a little bit about over the last few months, what that means on site. We can look at the early works that have been undertaken on site. We've heard, for example, recently that the steels to construct Building 1 have been ordered and will shortly be on their way to site, ready for that enormous building to begin construction. We've got a governance update in front of us, and as I say, a risk update as well. I think there's been good progress here, and the report demonstrates that. I think it's probably fair to say that we've all seen in recent months, because of the changes that were coming, chatter that maybe this wasn't going to happen or it wasn't going to happen in the same way. And I think this report does a really good job of putting all of that to bed and explaining where we are in the programme and what's coming up next. So I'll hand on at this stage to Chris, Paul and Kinga for any further comments.
I'm just looking to colleagues to see who is going first. I think it's Paul Hickson. Thank you.
Apologies for the sync there. The microphone wasn't working at first. I'll just say a very few brief words of introduction. I think two significant things have happened since the first meeting of the subcommittee in January. With all respect to the second significant thing, probably the first and most important thing, and Councillor Rigby alluded to this in his introductory comments, is the project review, which Agratas instigated about their development at the Gravity Enterprise Zone. And as you'll see from the report, that has occupied a lot of our time on various fronts in recent months, and that affects the work streams across the project. So significant change since our first meeting in that respect. Lightheartedly kind of set up, but I think also important to say that since our first meeting, Ian Gray has come on board as our interim programme director. So this is Ian's first meeting of the subcommittee. Obviously, he's a central part in our kind of response to the project and early days, but very much enjoyed working with Ian in that respect. The report itself, as you know, is a kind of a progress report across the work streams of the project, designed to give an overview of where we are, as appropriate at different meetings, to bring key decisions to the subcommittee, and also to help with the kind of understanding and response to the various risks that inevitably a major project like this brings to Somerset Council. So we set out across the work streams the status of those risks and our mitigations to them. I won't say anything more before handing over to Ian to kind of run you through where we are. Thank you.
Thank you, and welcome, Ian.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Paul. We're just going to run through sort of a few slides that embellish what's been said, just to highlight. So hopefully those will come up on the screen. It's really great to be here and incredibly exciting project. I'm just going to take you through what I'm going to be talking about. Hold on, we're just trying to get the slides going. Basically, we'll be taking you through what is in the report and then allowing a situation where we can use the end of this for questions and talks. Hopefully it'll come up. Beauty of technology. Bear with us. Want to send it on to somebody else or? Getting there.
Yes, 1 second. Yeah, not picking them up, sorry.
It's just not picking it up, so we'll.
Please bear with us.
Send it
You're
over.
online. We've just got a slight technical hitch in the room with the slides. We will try and resolve it now.
Great, thank you, Lee. In the time-old tradition, I'll say next slide, please. If you could do that for me, see if it works for you. There we go. Hooray. It's had such a big build-up. I do hope this is a good slideshow. So just talking you through the planning update, a lot of work going on already. Mike's already talked about the amendments to Building 1 and what's been happening. Looking at the replacement 37 club, what does this implications for the skills and job levels on the Agritas site? Clearly the work around Woollavington substation that National Grid are doing. Then, as we've talked about before, a bit of the governance update where we've got to programme update, and then feedback from the meeting since your last meeting with the various forums, and then an opportunity just to questions and thoughts. Next slide, please, Lee. Obviously, context of everything that you're already aware of, but thought it would be useful just to remind ourselves where the Agritas development is, the sort of turquoisey blue in the middle, Building 1 to the left. This is Gravity Future Development Schemes in the lighter brown to the south. So obviously the Woollavington Road, and then the ring road that is proposed to go round and link to a new motorway junction 22A. So it gives you the context of what we're talking about, as well as the boundary of the LDO. So planning update, incredible amount of work going on, and I would stress, I think, very well done to the planning team to keeping this all going, because it's that time, as we talked about, where things are starting on site or potentially starting on site in June. So a lot of applications and issues to be dealt with. Since your last meeting, the hazardous substances consent was issued, which is incredibly useful and needed. We're on with the screening opinion around the water with Wessex Water to serve the building, and the pre-commencement conditions to allow them to get on site are on target to get on site in June. So all our compliance is going through. As you will be aware, there's the early works notifications that represent what was happening previously with the planning consent. So this includes tractor Alpine, and then the ground investigation works that you've been seeing, and the platforms that have been created and started to be created for the major piece of infrastructure in the substation. Talked about the 37 club, but that a compliance application has come in, and I'll show you some slides on that in a while. And then looking at the future, this is the amount of work that's coming in on top as well from a planning perspective. The amendments, the final designs to Building 1 that we expect to have next month. I will show you some of the drawings and visuals that have been put forward by Agritas and have been shared with the all members briefing and the community forum. So we're expecting in June as well the ring road and associated landscaping around the park. That's mainly around the phase 1 of that ring road, and then all the issues around the National Grid transmission, which we'll talk about in a minute. Thanks, Lee. So here, and some of you will have seen this, here is the amendments to Building 1. So following the Agritas review, they've come up with a smaller footprint because of technology enhancements that they feel they don't need the same scale of building. And if you look on the plan in the left-hand side, you will see the turquoise buildings. You'll see, if you compare it to the right-hand side, the white, you see a lot of the ancillary buildings have been reduced. And then the southern end of the blue building has been concertinaed up into the white building. And you can see that on the elevations below, that's what it means from the architectural visualization. So in theory, you know, they've also repositioned the car parks and changing the landscaping. We are expecting the final submission for this to come forward in June. However, as you can imagine, an awful lot of conversations going on with planning and others to understand what are the implications of this. But clearly, you know, it is a reduction in the building, but we'll talk about the skills and the jobs levels and all the issues around that in a while. Thanks, Lee. So here you go. Critically for building one, what does that mean? Well, here's a slide that I think it's been seen before all members briefing of the bigger scheme, but this shows you the skills and the job levels that the revised building one. So it maintains the level of, you know, nearly 1,600 jobs, 900 direct operatives, and then it gives you a breakdown of what those jobs are. So still significant amount of job numbers, corporate and process. So really, I think good news that the whole thing is progressing and is still on track to create a large amount of jobs, even just in building one. Clearly, there are opportunities then for building two and building three, but we're focusing on building one at the moment. Thanks, Lee. So the other thing we've been talking about, the replacement of the 37 Club. And these are the visuals that have been published and shown. I think even newspapers recently have picked this up. So these are the scheme drawings. So you will see the replacement of facilities is like for like, and even an enhancement with much bigger, I think, function room. And you'll see from that the sort of split level design to allow different functions in different places, but also creating a sort of multi-purpose and flexible space. So I think that looks very exciting. Clearly, we're waiting that application to come in. Well, it's coming in shortly, and I think it's actually come in, and we're going through the process of actually looking at does it comply, etc. But clearly, it is, I think, a very good facility going forward. Next slide, Lee, please. This is just looking again at the national grid. So clearly the power is absolutely critical to this development, and especially for Agratas. This is the latest that's going on at the moment. So from late April, we've had construction already starting on a temporary compound. We're expecting, as we've already said in planning, the compliance submission to come in the summer, and then main construction work to begin in autumn, and then follow through all into 2028. You'll be glad to know that I won't take you through all the composition of the NGET transformers and all these different things that other meetings will do, but I can't give you the technical information on that, I'm afraid. Okay, next slide, please, Lee. So as the leader mentioned and Councillor Rigby mentioned, the governance update that has happened, and I think you had previous discussions around this. We have put together a separate programme management office to try and understand everything that is going on and group that into two overarching work streams in sort of one which is enabling delivery. So all of the work that's ongoing that the council is undertaking and others that we need to be aware of around delivering the scheme, and then the benefit realisation of making sure that they deliver what they say they're going to deliver and we get the maximum benefits out of all of that. I won't talk about the next bullet point because that's about me, but as we've mentioned, I think now having dedicated resource into all of this is critical. As you will see from the complicated drawings below, there's an awful lot of work going on, the LDO groups that we have to facilitate by the legal agreement, and then the alignment with all the different strategic decision making, as well as into this subcommittee, which clearly makes the decisions for a lot of the work that's going on underneath. The programme leadership group is working well and drawing everything together. So I think a useful start for me, and clearly I need to be making sure that all happens and works well. Thanks, Lee. Just a quick programme update, and you will have seen this from the local community forum or the all members briefing. So it's great to see Agratas engaging with the local businesses, the forums that we've had, that they've had, and the contractor, Sir Robert McAlpine, are having good conversations with a lot of people around how this impact can be minimised about what they're doing on site, but also how do we ensure that we work together in a good partnership, and I think that is working very well. We've commissioned some research around actually it's great having the factory and everything coming, but how do you maximize it and make the best of it? So how do you create a cluster around it? What does that mean? And what is the actual supply chain opportunities, so that we are not just believing what is being said, but actually saying, okay, how do we understand that, and what does that mean for local business? How do they engage in with the main contractors, with the main builders, etc.? And clearly the understanding of what's it going to do for the labour market. And if you look back to the previous slide, so 1,580 jobs, you know, that's a phase one. We know in construction terms, by the end of this year, there'll be 2,000 people on site, is what Sir Robert McAlpine is saying. So we're fully understanding what does that mean in the labour market, etc. And then some great things, I think, you know, just how do you get the children involved? How do you get the schools involved? As a governor of a primary school myself, I would love to have one of these Faraday fully charged battery boxes. I think it'd be brilliant. I'd love it in the school, so I might see what we can do. But I think that is really good to get all people engaged in this, to understand the opportunity and to change some aspirations of this could be a great technology coming back to the cluster going forward. What does that mean? Thanks, Lee. So just to really highlight what was the feedback since the previous meeting. So looking at the main issues, local community forum, clearly the traffic and the roadworks, especially associated with closing Woollavington Road for all the utilities work to go in. I think one of the things I'm looking at as well is how we are proactive in our communication strategy, as rather than just always being reactive. How do we tell people what is happening? So we know currently that the as has been said earlier in the meeting, the steelwork is potentially coming in June. So when that starts going up, everybody will see the scale of what is happening from a distance, which, you know, we need to make sure we're proactively telling people what's coming. Feedback clearly around the village enhancement scheme. So the way that we look at all the highway schemes around the site, so we can mitigate as much of the issues around any traffic, or how do we make sure that actually we can get good landscaping, good connectivity, active travel coming in. Other issues around the replacement of the sports pitches, the replacement of the 37 club facilities we've talked about, and the issues you would expect on a big site. How do we ensure that parking, traffic, etc., doesn't impact the locals? I think talking with Sir Robert McAlpine, they've actually got a good system so far in terms of how that is all going to work. We're clearly monitoring that and talking with them. And we're also, people are asking the questions about further potential development of the site. We're having ongoing conversations with the other landowner around their plans. And I'm sure as soon as those become available, we can start discussing that. All member briefing issues came up around the road network, the M5, the junction, which is a conversation as well we're having with Department for Transport and National Highways around all of that, and so are Agritas. Looking at what does the building design look like for the future phases, not just on Agritas, but also the wider development. Noise monitoring and impact on residents, absolutely critical for us to understand that. So Robert McAlpine presented, I think, at the all member briefing and the local community forum of how they're already doing all of that and the systems that they have in place, which are very good, above and beyond actually normal standard practices. I think they've got a really good alarm system to say if something is happening that it's recorded and people investigate immediately. So issues talked about as well around building heights. The revised building, as you have seen from the previous slides, was just concertinaed rather than changing any of the permitted building heights. Clearly we wait for the final design to come in, but that's what we are being told and shown. And as we've talked about, making sure that the local benefits and all the issues around having a major construction site of this scale right on your doorstep and ensuring that we get proper benefit realisation is something clearly in the programme that we're monitoring and ensuring that we do come to that. And I think we've talked enough about the 37 Club. I think one of the interesting things is that last sentence, that's last two words of operating model. How does this work is the next thing really. I think we need to fully understand around that replacement facility. What does that mean? How does the club actually work, etc.? And that's an ongoing conversation I'm literally having this afternoon as well. So hopefully that's a very quick run through about where we're at. I think one of the other things to say in the report, we have acknowledged the risk, and risk management is critical to this group. What we're also doing at the moment, as the council has changed its way of corporate risk monitoring and a new processes, we are reviewing all of that and putting that in line, our risk monitoring in line with the new corporate approach. So hopefully to the next meeting, we'll bring that back to you to show you exactly where that's been aligned and updated to ensure we're managing the correct risks against that. And hence why we haven't really presented that yet, because I want to go through all of that and make sure we are totally in alignment. So enough from me. Happy to answer questions or thoughts.
Thank you very much, Ian. Just the first question from me pertains to the education and training aspects. You talked about the STEM outreach that's going into local primary schools and secondary schools. I see Chiltern Trinity was the one that was mentioned in the report pack. I want first of all what the radius is of where we're anticipating that STEM outreach to get to. We clearly want this project to be beneficial to all the residents of Somerset, and I wonder whether you could update us on where we are with the skills and training delivery from Bridgewater and Chiltern College as well, please, and our other colleges throughout Somerset. Thank you.
Okay, I think what is really Agritas are very much trying to connect into all of that network. I think SRM are talking to local primary schools, but I'll ask Kinga just to update on the full detail of with the college, because I'm literally not caught up on that as much yet. So.
Yes, so we are in discussions with Agritas and the primary contractor about their approach to skills training and outreach and delivery of those different initiatives. We've got on board our colleagues from Children Services and Education Services as well to make sure that the outreach is as far reaching as possible. So rather than focusing on the small radius around the site, we are looking at the schools that potentially have not been engaged previously, or schools in areas where there is a particular issue with skills, with results, or with deprivation. So that engagement is delivered in places when it's most needed. So that's where we're going and what we're doing right now. And obviously it's going to be very important to make sure that all of those activities are coordinated through the skills charter. All of the elements that come forward on site will require that engagement with schools and education providers. So we need to make sure that all those different elements work together rather than each of them trying to replicate the same outcomes. So that's what we're doing. In terms of the skills and training for the jobs within the factory, it's something that we expect from Agritas to come forward quite soon. So obviously part of the revision of the building design, they were looking at the what that means for specific jobs and skills within the building. I believe those discussions are almost finalised, and we expect their workforce development strategy to land in the near future. I know that there's a lot of work going on with the Bridgewater Internal College, and there's been a number of existing courses identified as being suitable for delivery of Agritas's needs in terms of skills. So that's obviously a very good result, that there is already something that exists that can be used to deliver the skills. I believe we'll see some more concrete numbers probably in the next few months, hopefully in time for the next subcommittee meeting.
Yeah, it would be great to have that as an item almost on the next subcommittee agenda. I think that it's incredibly important that the skills are delivered for all our local residents. Really pleased that you highlighted those communities with disadvantage in that as well. And yeah, really pleased to hear that we're almost there in the next couple of months. All very, very exciting, and look forward to seeing that in a report and in action very shortly. Paul.
I was just going to suggest that perhaps we invite our colleagues from Bridgewater and Taunton College to join for part of that item and give an update directly. Our working relationship with them on the project is very good. So we're one team effectively. So if that's something the subcommittee would welcome, we could certainly approach them about that.
Very, very much so. I think one of the pushbacks I've seen is where will these local jobs go, and we need to be able to show that they're being delivered for residents of Somerset who are investing heavily in this project for the future. Okay, I'll pass over to Liz Lysholm next.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I just wanted to say I'm really pleased that the risks are moving on to IdeaGen, so that we're moving towards consistency of reporting for the whole council. And I was also pleased to hear Ian say that there was a meeting this afternoon about the operating model of the new 37 club when it's built. I think within the community, I think that's going to be really important. I know compared with the main build, I realise it's a small thing compared with the main build, but I think for the people who live locally, I think it will be really significant, and we must ask Chair that we're kept updated on the developments of how that operating model is intended to work. And then I also wanted to ask that this subcommittee be kept up to date on the work on the government grant to cover the cost of borrowing, because we were really clear in our budget setting papers to ensure that we made it absolutely clear that this council cannot cover that cost of borrowing, and that the government grant is essential to that. So just three things really, just to ask that they remain on the agenda throughout these subcommittee meetings.
Ian.
Yes, thank you. Totally agree. The meeting this afternoon, I will raise it again with this is gravity around the 37 club and try and get to the bottom of how that will work. But the other part, in terms of, we've also got meetings straight afterwards around with the government around exactly what you're talking about, the borrowing and different things. So looking at options. But I think the critical thing, as we've said all the way along, is that the principle of the enterprise zone is that it cannot make the position of the council worse. It has to be of benefit. And that's what's guiding us in all the conversations, and us stressing back to government that is the position we take. And therefore, I'm fully aware of that, and taking that into those conversations, I can reassure you.
I'm really pleased to hear it's not going to make our position worse, and that would be an interesting place to be, which we do not want. Not seeing anybody else who's a member of the subcommittee indicating, so next move on to Councillor David Wone. Hello, Dave.
Good morning, Bill. If I'd been in the room, I'd swear that you looked over my shoulder and read the question I was about to read out. So I'm really pleased to hear you mention about the education piece. And I'm aware that Somerset Council and other local stakeholders and partners need to move quickly in regards to the skills curriculum in respect to training and upskilling the people of Somerset, so that we maximise our opportunity for local people to get employment there. But in addition to that, I just wanted to get a little bit more insight on where we are with business engagement as regards supply chain opportunities. Because from my point of view, as ALM Economic Development, the two are actually moving in parallel with each other. We are also, as well as training and upskilling our local workforce, we also need to empower our local businesses as regards supply chain opportunities. So, firstly, I'd like to ask if we could add that to the education and skills piece for that separate meeting, the business and supply chain opportunities, but also just could I get some update on progress with the business and supply chain engagement, please?
Yeah, I share exactly from our perspective as a programme team, the requirement definitely to ensure that all of the skills issues, the workforce issues are in line with what we would expect through the charters that the business charters that they have agreed to sign up to in Agritas. Clearly, we're not in charge of ensuring that the supply chain happens, but we want to make sure we're ensuring that the supply chain goes to the local business community. So monitoring a lot exactly what they are saying and putting forward in the charters that they have to put together, but also to make sure that the events and everything they are putting together invite the local businesses, give all the opportunities. That's absolutely critical to us to make sure that they do that. Kinga, do you want to share anything else?
Yeah. Just to add to that, there's a piece of research that we've commissioned with Swimmers, exactly looking at the supply chain, the scale of opportunity, the kind of weaknesses among our supply chains, but also challenges and where we could explore further and where we could provide support. That piece of work is almost finalised now, and we're taking some recommendations from them. So they have looked at our local businesses, lessons learned from Hinckley. A lot of kind of creative work has been done to supply Hinckley, and that's exactly what we've done here. And that information is also going back to our colleagues at Agritas and their primary contractors as well. We know the project is moving very, very, very quickly, but there's a lot of capability within Somerset, and we are highlighting that to them. And there are probably ways in which we can assist our local businesses, and that's what we're going to be exploring in the coming weeks and months, to see what we as a council, together with our business representative organisations, can we do to maximise opportunities for the businesses that are willing and happy to be part of this journey.
Okay, can I just come back on that? If I can, sorry,
Dave, go. Paul would like to respond as well, and then come back.
Sorry.
Please.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Wone. Just to add a little bit in addition to my two colleagues' comments as well. So, firstly, I think it's a really good suggestion that we kind of broaden out the skills and workforce item to also include supply chain. You're right to say they're intertwined, and it would be good to look at it comprehensively. I think in doing that, obviously we'll cover all the kind of progress and next steps locally. I think it might be helpful within that conversation as well, just to kind of look at supply chain principles a little bit. So the supply chain for the Agritas facility will be national, and there will be some things which there are only certain parts of the UK that could supply. So, for instance, the chemicals strengths of Teesside are going to mean that some of the prime components are going to be sourced from there. Quite frankly, we probably wouldn't want to be manufacturing them in Somerset either. So, in terms of the nature of the processes involved, so it's a national project, and I think our understanding of that, and then seeing the significant local and regional opportunities within that, might be a helpful way into looking at the kind of the agenda in the whole. So we'll kind of cover it in that way, so that subcommittee members have a kind of an overall picture of what the supply chain looks like in this instance.
Okay.
Thank you, Paul. Dave, do you want to come back in?
Yeah, just briefly. Thanks for that update as well, Paul. If I can assist with optimising opportunity with local businesses, as Paul and Bill are probably aware, I get involved with the business representative organisations right across Somerset, as well as reaching out to, I think it's something like 12,000 businesses via our business newsletters. So if I can assist with optimising those opportunities via that comms piece, please ask.
Thank you for that kind offer, and it's good to see that you're powered by plants as well. And go next to Councillor Jill Slocum. Jill, it's a pleasure to see you back in full fettle, and welcome back. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman, and the same for you as well. Thank you. What I wanted to say was the agreement on the enterprise zone was must benefit us all, as you've said, and it was always that our vision right from the word from early Sedgemoor days. But I'm a little bit. I've got two questions, by the way. But I was a little bit, really worried. We are dependent on this government grant, and how. And I fully appreciate that. But can you give any ideas of the worst scenario? What would happen? Because that's a bit of a worry.
Yeah, to reassure you, I think clearly there is a sizable amount of grant money coming into. Currently, the option is to cover the borrowing. I think that was 55 million potentially. So that is what we're looking at the moment. That's both capital and revenue support, but mainly revenue support. We are looking with DBT, Department of Business and Trade, around how all of that works. But we're looking at a number of options around the need for borrowing, what actually is needed versus what infrastructure can be provided by others. So it's very flexible at the moment. The council hasn't committed to do any borrowing yet. We haven't had the detail of that conversation, so there isn't a commitment yet to do that. So can't really comment any further than that we're looking at options on it. The council is not committed to borrowing as we speak. So Nicola may be able to advance that conversation. But
hi, Councillor Slocum. I wouldn't want to go into those options that have just been mentioned yet, because they haven't been looked at by finance. We're in discussions with those and about those options, and in discussions with government, as colleagues have said. And I think it's, if you could just hold off until we've done that, and then we'll bring a paper about the revised options. But we are holding the line very much so that anything that any borrowing that is made in relation to this cannot be at a cost to the council. It has to be fully funded through the use of the business rates, and we're looking for that to be guaranteed if we go down that route. But we are exploring those options.
Thank you very much. It's nice to know that you're on it, and we're all going to hold on to this line together, I think, and go forward. My next question is, and thank you, Kinga, for the excellent report. It was a very good report. I'm really pleased to hear about the education. As you know, Bill, I've always been really like you. I want to ensure we have those great links with the Bridgewater College. But could you assure that this will always also be the links with all the secondary schools, because some of the secondary schools are moving forwards to sixth forms, and I think we've got potential there in our secondary schools to understand what a great project this is. And you mentioned Chiltern Trinity, but Chiltern School, but I didn't hear you. Forgive me if you did mention others. I'm sorry.
I'll come back on that, Councillor Slocum. Yes, Chiltern Trinity is the first school that will be engaged with the fully charged battery boxes from the Faraday Institute, and they are actually quite lucky that they have someone from Faraday Institute coming down to Chiltern Trinity. The plan is that our colleagues will be trained to then deliver that training across the schools. I think in terms of which schools and when and how will be engaged, I think it's the piece that we need to collectively design. As I mentioned before, there will be different opportunities coming forward with different elements of the site. So from my personal point of view, I think we would like to make sure that that outreach and that engagement is as far-reaching as possible. So there might be different schools might be engaged at different times with different elements and different providers coming forward on site, but we will definitely be looking at having that engagement as comprehensive as possible.
Okay, that's really good to hear. Thank you so much. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Okay, I'm not seeing any other indications of wanting to speak. So just one other question from me and then a point. Just wondering whether there's any updates on the potential transport infrastructure improvements, particularly the mentioned additional motorway junction and the additional rail link into the Gravity site. Do we have an update on that, please?
Yeah, so we had a successful site meeting with Agritas, with Department for Transport and National Highways around Junction 22A, as they're calling it. It's progressing through National Highways' system. We had one of the directors of National Highways there who committed to say that this was going through the process, had a funding commitment, and therefore is being progressed. I think there was also a realization, I think, which was helpful as to how long these do take. I think clearly, normally, I think an average motorway junction is about 12 years, but now that is being concertinaed and going through the process. So Agritas were fully aware then, as well as we were, that it's within all of the appraisal processes and is a commitment. And that was reassuring that design work has already begun. And looking at how does that integrate with our network, especially. So it then links into how does the ring road work, as we saw on the diagram. So there's a lot of work going on around that. I think conversations were being had, Department of Transport, around the rail link, but nothing further than knowing that conversations were happening. So that's one of the ones I will pick up. As to where does that fit into Network Rail, where does that fit into Department for Transport, to understand that any further. So some ongoing conversations, but nothing concrete yet, but it's still going through the appraisal processes.
Yeah, mention of concrete and motorway junctions doesn't go down well in Somerset at the moment, but yeah, absolutely. Fully appreciate this. It's an ongoing piece, and yeah, the aspiration behind that rail link still is there. We know Network Rail isn't necessarily always the most straightforward of organisations to deal with. Can I just also comment that I was really pleased to see the local community forum being very prominent in your slide deck as well. It's really important that we engage with the communities that are particularly affected in Puriton and Willavington, but also with a wider radius. And very pleased to see that being part of our agenda as well. So just wanted to commend that as well as the whole presentation.
I think the other reassuring thing for me was that, having gone to the local community forum, then talking to the people from the parish council, very much saying that this wasn't the only part of the engagement. They were having ongoing conversations with Sir Robert McAlpine as the contractor, which is great to see that was happening rather than just waiting for the local community forum. So that was a positive, I think.
That's really good to hear that that engagement is taking place. So I'm just not seeing anybody else, and I'm just looking to highlight the recommendations which are on page 3 of the agenda supplement, which I don't have open, I think, at the moment. Hang on a second. Just page 3. Recommendation that the Gravity Enterprise Zone Executive Subcommittee notes the progress of the programme. Can I see a proposer for that? Councillor Wilkins, seconded by Councillor Lation. All those in favour of the recommendation, all those against, that's clearly carried. I believe there's no other business this morning. I'm getting the confirmation from colleagues, so thank you to all the staff who are working on this, Louise, Ian and Kinga and Paul, and look forward to hearing further updates at our next meeting. And thank you to everyone who's attended and taken an interest in this exciting project for Somerset. Thank you very much. Declare the meeting closed.